What's up, y'all? My name is JR, and for those of you who don't already know, I'm a huge movie and TV nerd. If you're new here, I appreciate you taking the time to check out my channel. I hope you'll consider sticking around and joining the film community I'm trying to build here on YouTube. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Netflix original series, Ginny in Georgia, and how the writers managed to damage the show's lead character beyond repair. And just so we're clear, this video will contain some mild spoilers, so if you haven't seen this show yet and you plan to check it out and you don't want to know anything that happens in it, you might want to exit this video right now. And with that being said, no more wasting time. Let's get into it. Ginny in Georgia is an American comedy drama television series created by Sarah Lampert about a 30-year-old free-spirited mother, Georgia, who moves her 15-year-old daughter, Ginny, and her 9-year-old son, Austin, to the affluent town of Wellsbury, Massachusetts for a fresh start after Georgia's husband dies. The series stars Brianne Howey, Nikki Rommel, Antonia Gentry, Diesel LaTorraca, Jennifer Robertson, Felix Mallard, Sarah Weisglass, Scott Porter, Raymond Ablack, Katie Douglas, and Chelsea Clark. Now, the series was released on Netflix on February 24th of 2021. And in April of 2021, the series was renewed for a second season, which premiered on January 5th of 2023. And in May of 2023, the series was renewed for a third and a fourth season. And at the time of the making of this video, the series has a 64% rating on Rotten Tomatoes with a higher audience score of 75%. It has a Metascore of 64 on Metacritic based on only 20 critic reviews, with a much lower user score of 1.2 based on almost 700 user ratings. And finally, it has a 7.5 out of 10 on IMDb, and that's based on over 80,000 reviews. So, people seem really interested in watching and discussing this show. In fact, I did a little digging, and apparently 52 million subscribers watched the first season of this series within the first 28 days after its release. And in its first 28 days on Netflix, Ginny in Georgia was watched for 381 million hours globally. That's pretty impressive, I have to say. And then back in January of 2023, it was reported that the second season was at the top of Netflix's top 10 TV chart for the week of January 2nd to January 8th, with approximately 180.47 million hours viewed. And for the week of January 9th to January 15th, the second season was at the top of Netflix's top 10 TV chart again, with approximately 162.7 million hours viewed for that week. And at this point, season 2 of the show now resides in the all-time top 10 English language shows, with 504.77 million hours watched globally in the first 28 days of the television show's release. And following said release, the show featured in the Nielsen top 10 ratings for 8 weeks. So, as I said, people are really interested in watching this television show. And judging by the Tomatoes, Metacritics, and IMDb ratings, I can't really tell if they love it or they hate it. What I do know for sure is that the show has one really big problem, and its name is Georgia Miller. Now, I can't figure out for the life of me why the writers of this show decided to make Georgia's past so complicated in crafting this story, because it really didn't have to be. They could have simplified and streamlined Georgia's past by simply have her running to Wellsbury, trying to escape blame for the death of her most recent ex-husband, and left it at that. But if you've watched this show, you know that isn't what they decided to do at all. Instead, they decided to make Georgia a career criminal, and that just makes it extremely hard for you to root for her, which is something the writers clearly want the audience to do here. Now, by the time the 2 seasons of this show that have already been released are over, we learn that Georgia hasn't killed just one ex-husband, but that there are 2 dead exes. We also learn that she shot her stepfather's hand off. I mean, you could say for a good reason, but still, she committed fraud when she ran an underground casino. I mean, again, hard up for cash, but still. She committed credit card fraud by using her children's name to acquire said credit cards, and there's no excuse for that. And she set up her son's father for embezzlement and had him imprisoned. And I guess you could say, well, he was already kind of embezzling, but she just made it easier for him to be caught. Now, as for the crimes that Georgia Miller commits in the present storyline, she embezzles money from the very man she ends up getting married to in the season 2 finale, before she was finally arrested during her wedding reception for the murder of Tom Fuller, her former arch nemesis's incapacitated husband. And even though the other men she killed, you could argue, as I stated, were bad men, and, Georgia may have felt her and her family's safety was at issue when she was with these men, she kills Tom Fuller simply because the opportunity presented itself. Now, a character with such a colorful background can be useful to a story, even one that tries extremely hard to be something you might find on the CW. But it's that the writers seem extremely interested in excusing Georgia's behavior that makes the character and the things that she's done weigh the show down. As the people closest to Georgia come to learn all the things she's done in the past, they all seem to be especially interested in excusing it. Most of all, Ginny and Mayor Paul. And speaking of the mayor, it's absolutely preposterous that a government official would marry Georgia after learning of the litany of crimes she's committed. But yeah, I digress. Now, Georgia Miller as a character is charming. That's true. It's also clear that it's the writer's intention to make her character sympathetic. I can also concede that Georgia Miller as a character is meant to be extremely attractive in the eyes of all the male characters she comes into contact with throughout this story. But the sheer number of men who have both victimized her throughout her life and who seem to be incapable of seeing just how dangerous she truly is, it beggars belief. And in addition, it damages those characters by portraying them as either simps, dummies, or absolute monsters, all while Georgia enjoys the privilege of being categorized as a resourceful, resilient, and radiant woman who's only done what she had to in order to survive and protect her family. And as we wait for season 3 to come to Netflix, I can't help but bet that even though Georgia was arrested for the murder of Tom Fuller in the season 2 finale, she won't stay in jail for long. I'll even bet you that she'll beat the charge by way of Cynthia Fuller, who, despite having major beef with Georgia for all of season 1, will no doubt come to her rescue, providing her with some kind of alibi. Now obviously I'm just guessing here, and I could turn out to be wrong, but I really don't think I am. Because if you're thinking this is a show that aims to punish its charismatic female lead for all the wrong she's done, then you haven't been paying attention. Ginny and Georgia isn't that kind of show. Georgia Miller isn't that kind of character. And that's exactly why she's deeply flawed as it pertains to the narrative in this particular show. Anti-heroes can be interesting. I would argue, especially when they're females. Fiona Gallagher in Shameless is one of my all-time favorites. Now, she made a lot of mistakes throughout her character arc, and she made excuses for her behavior at almost every turn, much like Georgia Miller does in this show. The difference is that Fiona was made to suffer the ramifications of every bad decision she made right up until the moment she walked out of the Gallagher house for the last time. Georgia Miller feels way too light, and it's frustrating to watch Ginny and others constantly let her off the hook for her horrible behavior. Zion, her baby daddy, apologizes regularly for her wild and crazy antics. Mayor Paul wants to marry her so bad that he's willing to risk everything he's ever worked for in order to force it to come to pass, despite his entire family's objection. But deep down, we have to admit Georgia isn't a good person. In fact, she admits as much in the show. She's not even a good mom, though I do believe she tries to be at times. But Ginny burns herself as a means to deal with the chaos that Georgia seems to crave and create everywhere she goes. Austin ends up having to shoot his own father because of choices that Georgia has made. And despite what all the well-to-do men who live in Wellsbury, Massachusetts might think, Georgia Miller doesn't deserve a happily ever after, though I'm sure she'll get one when the series is all said and done. She is what I would like to call the epitome of a very mixed bag at the least. And that's maybe one of the biggest reasons why I think the show is dealing with very mixed reviews. But what do you guys think? Have you seen Ginny and Georgia yet? If you have, did you enjoy it? Let me know in the comments. And for those of you who might be new to the channel, be sure to like and share this video. If you really like the content, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way you'll be notified whenever I drop a new video. Also, be sure to go and check out themadscreenwriter.com for more television and film reviews and info on my upcoming film projects. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I got screenplays to write. And I'll catch y'all in the next video.